G'day listeners and welcome back to another APS News Bulletin, keeping you up to date and well informed on everything going on in the Australian property market. Now guys, today's title and what we're going to be diving into is South Australia abolishes stamp duty and the rental market to cool. Diving into these guys, to kick off with today, we're going to start with the big stamp duty changes for people looking to buy their first home. Now, guys, the article here is from the South Australian state government. The important thing here, guys, is it's for first home buyers. So the state government has announced it will officially abolish stamp duty for all first home buyers who buy or build a new home. And in further good news for those looking to enter the housing market, the first home owner grant will be extended to all new buyers regardless of property price. Never seen that before in terms of across the country. Previously, stamp duty exemptions and the first home owner grant were only available to buyers purchasing properties valued at $650,000 or less. With the abolition of property value limits, a first home buyer who purchases a new dwelling broadly in line with the median house price of $750,000 will receive a benefit of over $50,000, including the first home owner grant of $15,000. The stamp duty exemption will be available to all first home buyers who buy a new home, including a house, flat, unit, townhouse, or apartment, an off-the-plan apartment, a house and land package, or vacant land to build a new home. The changes will come at a cost of $30 million over 4 years. In summary, guys, looking at this thing, this is a really sort of key thing coming out there in the marketplace. Now, the state government, importantly, haven't offered this for existing residential. So they're trying to drive new builds and they're trying to drive people out there either purchasing land or buying off the plan or buying a finished product of a brand new home as well. Now, the really important factor in this, guys, is there is actually no limit. There's no ceiling in this, which I've never seen before in Australia for first homeowner grants. Now, as they said there before of, if you were to buy something at $750,000, you would be in front or have a benefit of around about $50,000. Your stamp duty on a house of $750,000 in South Australia is around about $35,000 in actual stamp duty cost. And then the first homeowner grant for new properties is $15,000. So in that scenario of someone going out there, first home buyer, buying a property at $750,000, you're going to be in front by $50,000 compared to the average Joe out there who might be buying the same thing. So this is a massive leg up for first home buyers in the state of South Australia. They're obviously trying to really drive that new home construction, new land sales, new apartment sales, all that sort of thing as well. So this is a good thing, guys, for people down there. I think it will be good for the economy. There's a lot of people obviously in the building industry and a lot of people trying to get into their first home as well and not eating up that existing stock, but being more of a drive and demand going towards all those new products, whether it's the land or a finished product or off the plan, all that sort of stuff as well. So undoubtedly we'll see a little bit of a spike in terms of the cost for that regardless, but if it pushes more of those first home buyers into that segment, that's only really a good thing to ease the pressure on the existing housing market. Moving on, guys, article number 2 is the rental market to cool as household budgets hit limits. Article by Adam Vidler over at 9 News, guys. Sydney has hit peak unaffordability for housing, a new report has found, but further price growth potentially still lies ahead. Independent industry forecaster Oxford Economics, Australia's residential property prospects report, also found that house prices were set to accelerate nationally in 2025, with interest rate cuts anticipated this year. But in contrast, growth in the hot national rental market is expected to slow in the 3 years to 2027. The capacity to absorb higher rents is topping out, Oxford Economics said in a release, and easing interest rates in 2025 and 2026 are predicted to blunt the impulse for landlords to push large rental increases on tenants. Adelaide and Brisbane have seen a continuation of late 2023 momentum, while Perth has sprinted ahead. While we expect national price momentum to slow in the second half of this year, it will accelerate again in 2025. Senior economist and report author Marie Kilroy said Perth was set to remain the star performer with regards to house price growth over the forecasted period. From the current extreme low, we expect rental vacancies will also lift slightly in 2024, but still remain very tight by historical standards. Overseas migration looks to have peaked, and deteriorating rental affordability, particularly in Sydney, Hobart, and Adelaide, has seen people pooling resources in larger households. Stress on household budgets has reached a level that would significantly limit the capacity for further rental gains, while the return of interest rate cuts from late 2024 will ease leverage property outgoings. On balance, we expect this to pass through to more modest rental increases at lease renewal. and Oxford Economics expects rents to peak in early 2025 before tightening through to 2027. I think the important thing to note on this as well, guys, is what they're saying is even peaking, right? They're seeing the current massive rental increases that we're seeing realistically as a direct correlation to where they see interest rates moving as well. So when they see interest rates kind of, starting back that easing cycle, they're kind of tying this in almost exactly with the rental pushes and the rental price booms to be easing. I don't know if it's going to work quite as, in a line with that. I think investors, if they've got the opportunity to, and realistically, if the markets are demanding the ability to still increase rents, I still believe they're going to do it. We've had a few years now of a fair bit of hurt with increased interest rates. So I think investors are still going to keep pushing rents so long as the market allows it to do so. But I think what they're saying here is that they're expecting vacancy rates to lift a little bit, still be well below the long-term averages. But those vacancy rates lifting a little bit, there's not as much pressure on the market, which in turn means that they think that it's going to be an easing of that rental boom conditions. In particular, they're calling out Sydney, Hobart, and Adelaide at a peak in the rental affordability cycle. The others, once again, they're saying Perth in a very, very strong market position right now. But also, interestingly, they're still predicting the market to continue to go on a growth run. In particular, as we've spoken about, especially on Scouting Australia podcast and at Australian Property Scout, the super boom conditions, which we're literally in the midst of right now. All you guys that are investing with us have seen very strong growth. When we see those interest rates come back in select markets, we believe it's going to put the fire under the market even further. So it's going to be very interesting to watch how this plays out. Very, very similar sort of, predictions to what we made around about 8 or 9 months ago, whenever it was. It might have been longer. So really interesting thing to note there, guys, calling a little bit of a peak to come of the rental growth and the rental boom conditions that we're undoubtedly going to see. They're calling a peak to that probably in the next 9 to 12 months. Still growing, but at more of a moderate level beyond that for probably the next 2 years beyond that into 2027. So still great conditions to be out there, guys. Still great conditions to be out there as landlords in the current marketplace. Obviously from both a growth and a rental growth perspective as well. But I hope that gives you guys a good little bit of a summary and wrap up from the Oxford Economics current housing report and conditions out there. Now, guys, that's a wrap for another APS Weekly News Bulletin. I hope you took some great value out of it. If you did, make sure you send it on to someone else who might also take some great value out of it, or any other friends that might be property investors that could benefit from listening to this content regularly. Until next week, guys, that is another APS News Bulletin on the Scouting Australia podcast.